Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosvitz, with my all-time most favorite, most wonderful, most special co-host of all times, Jen Albanese. Hi, Jen.
Hey. Hi, Maury. How are you? Everybody, welcome to the podcast.
This is like football mania. We've got Don McPherson, who's just awesome.
The great Don
McPherson. So if you want to get some amazing tips, tricks, wisdom, stories, this is your episode.
Oh my God, just the best. And it's so cool, to think that we know him. He's such a big deal, NFL,
Absolutely.
Worked for ESPN, obviously Syracuse legend. So really cool.
Doing amazing things in the community, just his outreach, what he's doing with violence prevention and teaching people about how to respect and be a part of our communities is just an awesome thing as well. And there's so many people that don't go on to their career and do things like that. And he's taking it to another level. So
giving back and just being such a good example. But he's so awesome, just so cool that we get the opportunity to chat with him. So
just a nice person. So
I know.
With football, we just had the Super Bowl.
That's right. Yeah, the big Super Bowl.
So I'm just going to say what everybody else is saying. It was boring.
It was so boring.
I will say I have tons of respect for those guys. Just to play in an NFL game of any of them is so impressive. And the fact that they're in the Super Bowl, but it was deadly boring.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, obviously the Super Bowl in itself is the event is crazy. It's so much more than just a game.
Right.
I think that's what it's turned into in the last, 15, 20 years. There's stuff that the whole week leading up to it, there's
just culture,
so much stuff. And all about the performances and everybody that's singing and doing things and parties and all
when
this
did they
stuff.
add the pre-show, the Green Day? Is that a new thing? Or is that something they've been doing? Because I don't remember that.
How about the fact that the pre-show started at noon and the game was at 6:40? I was like, who's watching this for 6 hours? This is crazy.
Well, I was getting nervous because I'm there's a whole stage out there for Green Day and they got to get the anthem on soon. So I'm like, what are they going to do? The halftime, at least they have this whole thing. I'm like, where are they going to take that thing?
See, that's the problem. That's the problem for you and I to watch games like that. It's all about the facility behind it and all the logistics of the movement of things.
And that's a tough place because it doesn't look like they have a lot to go in and out. There's no roof, so they can't hang anything. It looks
smaller sidelines too.
It just looked more condensed than the other ones have looked. But
it was the game itself was super boring. Teams that again, I'm not that I dislike the Seahawks or the Patriots. It's just not teams that we ever follow or, know anything about. Well, so that was tough.
I felt like it was from another era. I thought I went back 15 years.
Not a lot of scoring, very defensive game.
Which is never fun to watch. And
never fun.
and when I don't know if it was the announcers or I saw it on social media that it was the guy that went streaking had more yards than the Patriots was something that was
God, I know, I saw
I
that.
I was that's a bad comparison. So
yeah, let's be real. The Super Bowl is about the party and the food. Everybody having a Super Bowl party, it's my favorite thing to do. And the food is obviously paramount of what you're going to eat and drink and enjoy. So
well, I'll have to say I don't know why they put the Super Bowl so close to New Year's, but everyone's trying to lose weight and have these resolutions, but I have been good. And my wife, I will give her a ton of credit, has been making these phenomenal, healthy meals and so tasty. So we had we ended up, we're supposed to go to a party, but our son got sick. So we did a Super Bowl party at home and it kind of worked out because Liz made this awesome meal. It was a buffalo chicken dip, but we were able to make it into a meal and it was very good and very healthy. And I still got to keep my diet, so I'll take that. But
there you go. We threw it out the window.
I know.
John and I were.
Well, your husband threw it out the window 2 weeks afterwards. He's ate 3 hamburgers at McDonald's. I go, that's not a diet. That is not a diet.
He did say to me though, he was like, all right, so we got to be good for Friday, Saturday, so we can go all out on Sunday. And I was like, okay, it's fine. So
I don't think purging is the answer to a dietary plan.
Well, we're all trying, Maury. We're all trying.
Or binging. It should be binging. Yeah. Purging is what you do afterwards. I'm sorry, binging.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we got to get to Don and hear all the great things he has. So we'll have him coming up after these words.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
Very excited about this one. From the days when he commanded a huddle in central New York, this quarterback set the standard early. As captain of an undefeated Syracuse team in 1987, he rewrote the record books with 22 school marks, led the nation in passing, finished second in the Heisman Trophy voting, and collected more than 18 National Player of the Year honors, including Maxwell Awards and the Davey O'Brien Award, and very first Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. He went on to play professionally in both the NFL and CFL, cementing his reputation as one of the most accomplished signal callers of his era. His impact didn't stop when the cleats came off. In 2000, while serving as the Nassau County Sports Commission, he created the John Mackey Award to honor college football's top tight end. He became a trusted voice of the game as a college football analyst for ESPN, NBC, BET, and later on as a lead studio analyst for the SportsCenter New York. Along the way, he came lasting recognition, inducting into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2008, and the retirement of his iconic jersey at Syracuse in 2013. In recent years, his influence has stretched far beyond the field. He's published You Throw Like a Girl in 2019, spotlighting decades of work using sports to confront social issues and prevent gender-based violence. He's earned the National Football Foundation's Outstanding Contribution to Amateur Football Award in 2020 and Syracuse University's William Pearson Tolley Medal for Distinguished Leadership in Lifelong Learning in 2021, honoring a lifelong of service, leadership, and philanthropy. And today we're talking about none other than Don McPherson. Welcome, Don. That was so much to say because you have done amazing things.
We're out of time. Thanks for joining tonight.
Exactly.
As you were reading more, I'm like, he is such a big deal. Like, this is a huge deal.
I know. I'm so excited that he's on. I honestly had to cut your bio down because I'm like, I don't know if I could go on forever. I feel like we would just be here all day.
It just means I'm old. That's why I've always
No.
There's a lot of people that make it to 100 that don't even do a quarter of those things. So I can say,
you're kind.
Absolutely.
And to say that we get to know him and get to work with him and be a friend of his is pretty cool. So thank you for doing this.
Jen, you need to know, I was talking about you earlier today. I said,
oh, God.
I said, anytime you see anything happen in the Dome that's not the game, Jen's running it. She's like,
most likely.
I try.
Do you see that little person on the sideline just bopping around? And you see it's going to be Jen.
That's right.
Everybody listens to me. Listen, I get it done, and everybody's wonderful, and that's my job. Yeah. So I very much enjoy it.
You like the lion tamer in the circus, right? Like, why aren't those lions attacking that person? They're not well equipped. She's like, yeah.
It's very true. Very true.
She gets it done. Well, Don, we're really excited to hear your tips. So let's start with the first one.
Okay, so my first tip is, and you have to remember that I came into the sports world not as an employee or looking to work. I was just a kid, right? Just an athlete. And so I've always seen it from that lens in the many different lives that I've had. So my first tip is to know your fandom. And know your level of and you know, Jen, if I can use you as an example, if you're so enamored with the fact that Jim Boeheim's coming onto the court, you're gonna get lost in that, right? You're gonna get lost in, or if you're enamored with the crowd noise or the horn that goes off when there's a touchdown, you need to know that, control that, so you can stay focused on your work. And so whatever level of sport you're involved in, know your level of fandom, right? Know your level that you need to tone down, or maybe say, you know what, I know this about myself. I can't get into things. I do a lot of serious work. The things that make me sad or that distract me, I could never be a youth sport coach. Because
right.
I would be too busy watching a kid who just found a worm, just like when my mother was playing soccer, and she walked off the field, and she's like, and all the parents go, "What is she doing?" I'm like, "She found a worm."
Yeah.
Right? So know your level of fandom. Like,
right.
Know what gets you jazzed, because it will distract you from the job that you have to do.
That's an awesome tip. I mean, so many people that come into industry think it's about being a fan, and it's really not. It's about engaging in this world and doing certain things and know like what your right place is. And I think that's just an awesome, because if you're not the guy that wants to come and like get the game going or be like Jen and get everybody in their place, and you want to sit there and watch the game, then you want a totally different job, which is fine, or a totally different role. And I think that's great to put into perspective and like be ready to go into that job and know what it is.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've said that to interns. Like, that's part of our training when we have, whether it's game day interns or new people in our department, it's like, we understand if you're a fan, that's great, but you're here to do a job. Like, I mean, you guys have mentioned, I watch like literally zero of the actual game.
Right.
And it's funny, my parents are like, "Oh, did you see that play?" And I'm like, honestly, I know I didn't, because I was too busy doing X, Y, and Z. So I think being able to separate that is really important. And of course, I want our teams to do well. And when they're successful, it makes everything that much better. But like, you have a job to do, whether you're an intern or whether you're, in Maury's role or my role or whatever. And to understand that. And I love the way you said it, because it can distract you from what your actual job is. And that's such a good thing for people starting out to understand. You have to separate the two. That's really, really important. So
can I just put a little flip on that one?
Yeah.
Because you just reminded me. I used to do sideline for ESPN, and I was doing a sideline game in Philly. This was after I played there, so I knew people in Philly. I was working sideline in Philly, and I asked the sports information director, "Hey, anything going on I should know about?" It was Temple playing somebody, and attendance was bad and all that. So I'm standing on the sideline, and he goes, "No, nothing special." I'm standing on the sideline, and here comes Harold Carmichael, who I knew played for the Eagles, 6'7" tight wide receiver, you can't miss him. And right behind him is Joe Frazier. I'm like, oh, and I know Joe from my brother was a boxer. Yeah. And there's Mike Schmidt, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what?
But there's nothing going on.
There's nothing going on, right? What are these guys doing on the field? And they had all the legends doing something that they were just on the field for something. And so, A, yes, know your fan, but B, when you have something special in your back pocket, share it. If
use it.
Is at the game or that thing is happening, maybe there's an event going on in the city that dovetails into the game, share that too, because it's a community experience.
Absolutely.
Well, Don, you're really already killing it. You're already on top of it. We can't beat these yet. This is a great one to start off with. What do you got for number 2?
Okay, so number 2 might be my favorite. I was gonna leave it for last, but it goes into what I just said. Working sideline for ESPN. I went to a camera meeting. My director and my sideline cameraman were both from Syracuse, but we were doing Big Ten games, and then we started doing some Division III playoff games and all that. And so one of the games, my director, a guy named John DeVecchio, says, "Hey, come to the camera meeting." I was like, "Man, you guys meet too early in the morning. I'm not going to the camera meeting. You guys are there like 5 hours before me. Why would I get up?" But I do it. I go. I'm like, wow. And I learn all the camera guys. I learn the camera numbers. Now I know where camera 1, 2, 3. And so I'm doing the division. It was the MAC championship game. It was Western Michigan against the Herd in West Virginia.
Marshall. Yeah, there you go.
And Chad Pennington was the quarterback at Marshall. Now I was doing Big Ten games, and you couldn't get on the sideline for Big Ten games. You had to stay in your box, right? You couldn't get near the team. In the MAC, I could go wherever I want. So I met Chad the day before. Chad has this great moment, comes off the field, hugs me, and my producer's like, "What are you doing on the sideline?" I'm like, he hugged me. But then they finish the game, they crush it. They win the last second of the game. The fans storm the field. I have to get to Chad to do my post game, like, "Hey, Chad, great moment," right? I'm the sideline guy. can't get to my camera guy, right? He's some Dan Roach was his name. Dan Roach he can't get there because of the crowd. And so now my producer said, hey, we gotta get shot. I said, take me from 6, like I was a director. I said, take me from 6. And all of a sudden, camera 6 pans down and finds me in the middle of all these students, right? And I do my little thing with Chad. He runs off, they run. And the producer, I get to the truck, he goes, how'd you know that? I'm like, because I went to the camera meeting.
Yeah.
And he said, we're going to be on ESPN. And that's going to make ESPN tonight, right? Because it's such a great shot. It made great TV.
Yeah.
So my advice, my second tip is know the roles of everyone that you work with. And sit in on somebody else's meeting, even if it has nothing to do with you, so you can complement each other, because you never know when that's going to pay off. Pete Sala, who is an amazing guy, I remember him talking about knowing that you can't put people with disabilities in certain dorms because it's hard for them to get to campus, right? Know what everyone else does, because then you can serve the public better, you can put on a better show, and you can just complement everyone that you work with.
What a great tip. I feel like this is something that just goes across so many things in sports, because everybody's kind of in their silos at times, and you kind of have to make that effort to go and bridge that gap. And then what a great outcome happens when you kind of have that connection with people and are able to like find that niche, like you were able to find the camera, or, when I'm working with somebody and, they're looking for a certain way to do something on the field with the coaches, and are saying, hey, if we could train this way, if you can adjust this on, the way we do have our training facility, I can do all this stuff with it. And it just opens up these doors that you never know. So what a great tip.
Yeah.
It's all about teamwork too. Like nobody can be successful without other people. Like I can't do my job without all the other interns that I have helping me do it, or, the facilities team knowing what I'm doing and where I'm coming on the court or where I'm coming on the field. Like everybody complements each other. And if you have to work as a team, I mean, we're supporting a team, but you're also a part of a team. So it's kind of dual purpose. Like obviously if you're playing football, you were a successful quarterback, but you had other guys on the field that made you successful too. And it's the same thing with anything that we're doing in our jobs. We need team behind us to be successful to accomplish that goal, whether it's a great game experience, it's a great shot with an interview, or it's a great, practice that the facility provided for the team to have. So it all kind of goes together. And I love that. See, it pays to go to that early camera meeting.
Yes, it does.
It paid to go to that early camera meeting.
When I go to work tomorrow, I'm going to the ACC network guys and saying, hey, I heard this from Don.
Coming to your camera meeting.
You better take some more people to that camera meeting. So I think there'll be a lot of Newhouse students that now are going to know what all the camera numbers are.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Awesome.
And know how to speak director speak. That's
exactly.
Yep.
They're like, he said 6, we'll take 6, whatever he says.
Exactly. Who said that?
Awesome. Okay, number 3. We're on number 3 now.
Tip number 3 is along the lines of what Jen was just saying. And this was a big thing for me as an athlete, but it goes into, like, I do a lot of public speaking now, and I do a lot of work with some very serious issues. And you have to know the philosophy of the sport and the culture of the sport, right? Because if you're trying to, Jenna, you can imagine, right? Basketball is such a different culture than football.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to know that culture, so you know when to step in to ask the question you need to answer, or to move a piece of equipment that needs to be moved. Know that we need to let this guy or this woman like get through her zone, right? Know what she's up against, because right now her brain is like, oh no, I've got this thing on my brain, not thinking about what you have to do. And so know and I run into this at times with folks, because I do deal with, when I go talk to students, it's very, very serious, and I deal with a lot of very serious issues. And the one thing that I often do when I train people to do that is I ask them to tell me something about yourself that nobody knows and is nobody's business, right? And then we recognize that we all carry something, right? And we all have a certain level of risk. And I want people to be sensitive to the people around them, so that you know when to ask the right question, when to lean out and listen, and not inject what you think should be happening in the conversation. Same thing is true around sports. Mm-hmm. I learned this when I was in high school, that I was pregame, I was in a zone, and I don't want my family talking to me. I don't want anyone talking to me. And it took me a while. There's a photograph out there of when we accepted the bid to the Sugar Bowl. And so my worst, I write this in my book, my worst performance as an athlete was also my greatest moment. And it was the West Virginia game, the last game of the season. And I threw 4 interceptions and I fumbled twice. So and only one fumble went out of bounds. So I was 5 of 6 in my turnover ratio in that game. It was an awful performance. And I trace it back to pregame. We took the bid to the Sugar Bowl before the game. And our athletic director came to us before the season. He said, 1 down. We all said 10 to go. He goes, no, 1 down, 1 to go. And that became our rallying cry. That was our philosophy.
Right.
That was our guiding principle. 1 down, 1 to go. The next play, right? And then here we were accepting this bid for the Sugar Bowl. And there's a picture of me. I have it of that press conference. And I am not in the zone. I'm pissed because we decided to celebrate before we finished. And so know the philosophy of the sport, whether it's how someone prepares pregame or don't put the party before, because athletes, we don't do that.
Right.
No, yeah.
Can't celebrate until it's complete.
No.
It's not over till it's over.
It's not over till it's over. Exactly.
It's not over till it's over. So, yeah.
And it so shows like how so many people are so specific. Like I go back to my time working with the lacrosse program at Syracuse, and the goalies you kind of just had to leave alone because you
like kickers.
Yeah, you gotta just let them do their thing. Like it doesn't matter if one gets past them. Like if you're a coach, you just let them do their thing. You don't say anything. But the guy that's doing the face-off, you can't say enough. Like they will get off the field and the coaches will give them 20 things in 10 seconds to be aware of. And that's a culture of that sport. And it's a culture of how those things work. And like, if you're not in tune with those things, it's not going to work. And so what a good tip for people that want to work in athletics or want to work in sports, but also just like in life, like you got to know your environment. You got to know what's going on. And especially like you said, when you're dealing with such sensitive topics, like what you deal with and working with people to combat violence and be better people. So awesome.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Okay.
So tip number 4 is probably going to sound a little bit like the others, but is very different. And that is know and see the humanity of athletes. And we are, whether it's a helmet or it's a facade or it's the lights or whatever, we can look like, especially in college and below, they're kids. And they may look like grown people in their sport. They're grown in their physicality, but they are kids and they're human beings. And they come to the stadium, they come to the venue with they had to go through traffic. They had to get up in the morning. They had to take that call from mom or dad or, whatever. They had to do all the same things. And know the humanity. And I say that for people working in the sport, because when that athlete walks into the venue that day, whether it's practice or whatever, listen, they're going to hear it from the fans, they're going to hear it but they don't want to hear it from whether it's the security guard who works the door or the person working concessions. That is the Dome to me is like my home. Right. It was there when people weren't there. Right. We were there for practice. We were there for days when no one's in that place. And then it fills up. And everyone who comes to work there, we're all in this together. And even though I'm just the athlete on the field and I may look like I'm a grown man, I'm still a kid who's part of this environment. And I come into it with all the same anxieties and same issues that you came to it. We all have to go through the snow, right? Yeah. We all have to get through the cold. And so just know that, and that goes along with knowing your fandom, right? Know the humanity of athletes. It's very easy to see athletes as the mechanical things that we think they are, because we can bet on them, and we get happy when they win, and we get sad when they lose. But they are still human beings, and we need to know that part of them.
Yeah, I think we look at them as like dollar signs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? They're a number, you know what I mean? And, you know, I know that's it's a business. We understand that it's a business, whether it's college or professional, we understand that. But this is their living, and they have families. They have, like you said, moms and dads, or even if in professionals, I always think about that, like in the NFL or when in Major League Baseball, when people get traded and they got to go to a different team, like in like 2 days. Like they also have a wife and kids that that they have to relocate with and find a new place to live, and their kids have to acclimate to a new environment and make new friends. And again, I understand it's a business, and they look like dollar signs to a lot of people and to fans and all that, but they're people, and they have to go through the same things as we do with, like you said, anxieties and, like, you know, and then it's because they're making all this money, they should expect that, or
Yes.
they should be okay with that, and they should be able to adjust. But they're still human, and they still have things that they go through. So I really think people forget that. Fans especially forget that. So
Jen, if I can add one more tip before I get to the final one. You
Keep
are
going.
so right. I'll never forget because television and money can do two things. It can make the game look really easy and predictable. And that's not, I remember what long time ago, ESPN they had like a grid, and it was a batter for the Boston Red Sox. I can't remember the guy's name, but I remember them saying he's 80% here, he's 20% here. Like we can predict where the ball's going to be. It's not that easy. That ball is moving at 80 miles an hour, right? You can like make it look really simple, or we say things like you just said, and this is really important for places like Syracuse, where all of a sudden you're going to have 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids making a lot of money. And that does not make them better athletes.
No,
does not make you a better athlete. It may say you're more valuable to the organization, but it doesn't give you the ability. This is my best baseball, right? You can tell this is not my sport.
Yeah, you're like, that's not your sport.
Remember I said before, no sport, right?
Right.
But just because you can make it simple or pay me more money doesn't mean I'm going to be able to do that thing any better.
Right. It's just crazy. And I think, like you said, people forget that. And I think too, like, even if you're working in it, you forget it sometimes, and you like expect them to do so much more. Well, we're paying you, you should be able to go here and do this. And
I mean, how many meetings have we been in? Like, okay, well, now that we pay them, they're going to do this. And it's like, well, they're still students. They're still things to do. They're still, you know, 18 to 22 years old and living their lives. Like it's a tricky thing, and kind of the world that's evolved into. I can't imagine like coming into it just from the time when like we were in college to now go in and say, okay, well, this is going to be your life. And it's great that they're having access to this revenue, but it's definitely like putting more pressure on them. And I have trouble picturing it.
Yeah, I mean, they're pulled in so many different directions. Like, again, like if you're a student, you know, you need to go to class, and then you need to be here, and you need to do this, and you need to be at practice and lift and this appearance and that appearance. Like they have to balance so much, and it's a lot for a kid to have to balance and have that much expected of them, you know. And again, obviously in a professional setting, when you're in the NFL or you're in the MLB, like, yeah, that's your full-time job, and
you're not going to class.
Right. You're not.
And by the way, you don't have to go to class with the fans the next day, right?
Correct. Right. Exactly. You don't think about that either. Like they're sitting next to students that were just, you know, yelling at them and jeering at them on the field, 12 hours before. So that's such a good point. And I think, again, some things that people don't think about, or they forget, whether they're working or they're a fan, they're people too. So.
And one thing about that, Jen, you just made me think about this when you talk about family. When you have young men, and this came up in a conversation several years ago with a guy named Chris Del Conte, who's the athletic director at Texas, and I was talking to him about the money, and he was at TCU at the time, the money that athletes were getting from Pell Grants, and then there was one settlement, and now we have NIL, and he was saying, you know, a lot of these kids, that money is going home, to their mom, to their single mom, right, supporting, and the more money that these kids are making, the more, and they're 18, 19 years old. They've got a lot of implications for that money. But one thing to recognize is sometimes all of a sudden they become the top earner in their family.
They're provider.
Quickly.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
And so now they have like little brothers and sisters who need, need shoes right now. Baby needs shoes, right? That old expression.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, those needs come up when they have the means, and now there's pressure on them
for that too. Yeah.
For that too, right?
Such a good point.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Awesome tip. Okay, I think, Jen, this is our last one.
Yes. Okay.
Throw it out
All right,
there.
Don. All right. So, Don, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So, what do you know now at this point that you wish you knew when you first started way back when?
There's not much. And I'm not saying that because I'm smart. That's not at all. But because, and the reason why I say there's not much is because the one thing that I was good at, which is the thing that I wish I knew because I would have done it differently, was to always be authentic.
Yeah.
And I think this is true in almost every business, but I was always authentic, but it was more combative than it was being authentic. Like I was the black quarterback. And so that was a little bit being combative, that I'm going to do this and I'm sticking to my guns, as they would always say. But I was more combative. I was very private. What people didn't know, my last year, I had a roommate for 4 years, Walter Mosley. He left. He didn't redshirt. I did. I had the 5th year. So I wanted to live by myself. Coach Mack wouldn't let me live by myself. I snuck around. I got an apartment on Ostrom, and they thought I lived in Skytop. And so I stuck around and lived someplace else. But that was me being authentically me, right? That was me being, but it was combative. So I wish that I understood myself more so that I would have been smarter in the things that I did. And when I say be authentic is, the business of sport is going to challenge your fandom, all the things we're talking about. It's going to challenge your fandom. It's going to challenge your being distracted by the shiny objects. It's going to challenge your ability to deal with disappointment, right? Because your team may lose and may lose a lot, and you may have to lift yourself up. And if you're not truly into that, if you're not truly into the roller coaster ride that is sport, it is still the ultimate reality television. You turn on a Syracuse basketball game at 2:00, by 4:00, God willing, unless you're at that god-awful 6 overtime game that I was at, and I missed every train home.
At least we won that game. After 6 overtimes, we better have won that game.
Everyone would say, what a great game. I'm like, no, that was awful. We were there all night long, right? But it's reality television, and you may leave disappointed.
Yeah.
And if you're not truly authentically in it, because sports is a quote unquote, I had to use the term, but it's a sexy business. It's a fun business, right? It's probably the only business where you don't have to tell people, hey, go have fun, right? It's fun. If you're not having fun, it's built in, right? It's like, when I hear people say, well, that person's not good enough to play, I'm like, no such thing. That's why it's called play. Yeah. No such thing as not being good enough to play, right? And so it should be fun. But if you're not authentically in to the roller coaster of fun, don't get in the business.
Yeah.
It has to be really authentic in who you are, because then you'll start to, and this is a little bit about the fandom and knowing the roles, but then you'll start to try to control the business to bend to how you think it should go, and that's not how sports works.
Not gonna work.
No.
And so if it's not authentically you, don't do it.
Yeah. I love that, the roller coaster of sports, and that's even if you're playing or you're working in it. That's what you sign up for. That's the gig. And
Jen, I'm sure you hear it all the time. Like, you're responsible for whether the team wins or loses. Jen, what did you guys?
Exactly.
Don, you literally hit it on the head. Every day they say that to me. Well, you didn't play that song, and that's why we lost.
That's right. Exactly.
Yep.
Yep. That's exactly right.
So you have to be willing to take all of that and work through it all and live through it all, because that's what sport is. So.
Yes.
Well, Don,
so
this was awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
I could do, if you could tell, I could do this all night.
I love it. And the stories are so great, and just such good and real tips that people don't talk about. And I think that it's really, really great. I think people will love it.
We should have made it the 10 tips and tricks, but it would have been perfect.
We'll have to bring them on like in the next season.
We'll get another round.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you again, Don. And we know everyone's going to really enjoy this. And we can't wait to see you back at the Dome for the next event. So we'll definitely welcome you back when we see you there.
Yes, thank you for taking the time, and everybody for listening. And make sure you're following us on all your social channels at @AthCareerPod, and on all your social platforms, like I said, and your podcast platforms. And new episodes drop every Tuesday. So thank you guys, and thanks, Don.
Bye. If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.